Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege of Parashas Reeh. And in this parasha, like so many other parashas of Chumash Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to give his beloved flock as much hadracha, guidance, insight, wisdom as he can, knowing that he will not accompany them in this next stage of their national journey. Because once they cross the Jordan River, Moshe Rabbeinu stays behind. As they cross the Jordan River to embrace national destiny, Moshe Rabbeinu will not be able to whisper in their ear these pearls of wisdom that they've been zocha to over the last 40 years. So he tries to front load it. Whatever I could give them now before they cross it, whatever I can give them now before they embrace this destiny. And the reason this is important is because whenever you look at the messages or even the mitzvos of Chumash Devarim, I think there's always like two levels. There's the stated meaning, and then there's the deeper metaphorical message meaning as well. Let me share with you an example of this. In Parak Yud Gimel, Pasuk Beis, chapter 13, verse 2, the Torah speaks about the fascinating discussion of the false prophet. And here's how the Torah introduces it. Ki yakum b'kirbecha navi ocholem chalom. If, let's say, again, a prophet or a dreamer will arise in your midst, and he'll give you a sign, he'll give you a miracle. In other words, he's gonna kind of give his prophetic credentials. And I'll tell you, some miracle is going to occur, some sign is going to occur, and it comes to pass. And what happens? And the miracle comes to pass, the sign comes to pass. And then, after he's established his prophetic credentials, he says, let's go follow another God and ultimately again worship them. So the Torah tells us, Lo sishma el divrei hanaviyahu. Moshe Rabbeinu says, don't listen to that prophet, don't listen to that dreamer. Why? Ki menaseh Hashem Elokeichem eschem ladas hayishchem oavim es Hashem Elokeichem b'chol levavchem b'chol nafshem. It's a test. It's a test. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is testing your resolve. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is testing your commitment. The Rebbe Shalom gave this prophet or this dreamer, this false prophet, this false dreamer, this power to test your resolve, to test your commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then Moshe Rabbeinu says, Acharei Hashem Elokeichem teilechu. Always follow after God. Va'osot tiro, revere Him. Ves mitzvosov tishmo, listen to His mitzvos. Ubekolo tishmo, listen to His voice. Va'osot ta'avodu, serve Him. Ubotid bakun, and cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amazing. Amazing. So again, false prophet, even if he proves his prophetic credentials with some type of sign, some type of miracle, still do not listen to him. It's a test from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You know, I was looking at these psukim late last night, and I don't know, maybe it was the lateness of the hour, but something really stirred in my neshama about these psukim. And perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching us an additional lesson in here as well. Ki yakum b'kirbecha navi ocholim chalom. So it's interesting that lashon of b'kirbecha. B'kirbecha, so we translate means as in your midst. But perhaps what Moshe Rabbeinu was saying is, sometimes there's a feeling that stirs inside of you as well. All of us are looking for deeper meaning in life. Right? So, I've come to find that what often happens is we're very busy. So because we're very busy, we often don't have the time to think about, like, ma chovasi ba'olami. What, as Ramchal says, what's my obligation in this world? What am I supposed to accomplish? What's my mark? What's the metric of success? I'm not here simply to just go through the activities of daily living. Like, what's my purpose? So often when we're busy, we don't think about these things as much because we're busy. But sometimes in those moments of quiet solitude, we begin to think about this. And it gnaws at us. It gnaws at us. And so we try to find ways in which we could be purposeful. We try to find ways in which we could feel happy. We try to find ways in which we could feel fulfilled. But there's a danger. What's the danger? Ki yakum b'kirbecha navi ocholim chalom. So sometimes, again, there'll be this inner voice inside of me, this, so to speak, prophetic voice, this dreamer voice. And it's the voice that's going to say, you need to lead a more meaningful life. You need to find happiness. You need to find contentment. You need to find fulfillment. And this inner voice sometimes will seek to lead me astray. And this inner voice will say, I'm going to give you a sign. And the inner voice is going to say, right? The inner voice is going to say, Nilcha acharei Elohim acherim asher lo yidatem b'na'avdeim. The inner voice is going to say, you want to be happy? You want to be content? You want to feel fulfilled? This is the way to do it. But that inner voice is going to try to point me in a way that's not Yiddishkeit. It's going to try to point me in a way that's not the Torah. It's going to try to point me in a way that is not our hashkafa. It's not the right, and I know it's not the right derech. But the inner voice is going to give me a sign. The inner voice is going to show me, but look at this one. This one's so happy. And look at that one. That one's so fulfilled. And look at this one. They're so successful. And look at the derech that they chose. And look at the path that they chose. And it's convincing. Because a lot of times you look around in the world and you see this person and they look so happy. And they look so successful. And they have so much. And they've accomplished so much. That's the os. That's the mofes. That's the miracle. That this inner voice says, come on. Don't you want that? Don't you want that? Aren't you tired of struggling? Aren't you tired of fighting? Aren't you tired of always going against the tide? Look at this one, they look so happy. Look at this one, they look so fulfilled. Look at this one, they feel so content. Look at this one, they have so much. There is that voice, Bekir Becha, inside of me. That Nevitic voice, that prophetic voice, that dreamer voice that says, don't you want to finally be happy, fulfilled? You're always living your life in this state of existential anxiety. Don't you want to finally find simcha? Don't you want to finally find contentment and fulfillment? Look, this one is happy, that one's happy, that one's fulfilled. Just do whatever they're doing. And Moshe Rabbeinu tells us, Lo sishma el divrei hanavi hahu o chalei machalo mahu. Sometimes you can't listen to that inner voice. As compelling as it is, as tempting as it is. Why? Because there is only one path to fulfillment, contentment, and happiness. Acharei Hashem Elokeichem telechu. There's only one path. There's only one path that ultimately gives us what we want. And it may not give us all the money we want, and it may not give us all the riches we want, but it'll give us all the contentment we want. Contentment, happiness, a feeling of purpose is only found in one place. There are other things in life that could give you pleasure, and there are other things in life that could give you joy. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing in this entire universe that can give you a sense of contentment, a sense of wholeness, a sense of completion, a sense of purpose. Acharei Hashem Elokeichem telechu. It's only if you follow the path of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ves mitzosav tishmoru, mitzvahs, ubekolo tishmo. Stop listening to sometimes that inner voice, which is really the voice of a false prophet, which is really the voice of a false dreamer, which is trying to lead you astray by making you think that happiness can be found in a lot of stuff, in a lot of possessions, and a lot of acquisitions, or that happiness can be found by cutting corners in spirituality, by offloading religious requirements and obligations. Don't listen to that voice. It's going to mislead you. There's only one voice you need to listen to in this universe, and it is Ubekolo Tushmo. Listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Stop listening to the voice of the false prophet, to the voice of the false dreamer. Va'oso ta'avodu. Be willing to put in the effort. Be willing to put in the effort, because if you're willing to put in the effort to your Yiddishkeit, that's when you will find a sense of contentment, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, and a sense of wholeness. Va'oso ta'avodu. It's not easy. It's not easy. Yiddishkeit is not easy. Our meaningful life is not easy. Our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not easy. None of it is easy. But nothing that is meaningful in life is easy. Ubotid bakun. Cling to Him. If you're able to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and again, Rashi points out again, which means Botid bakun means divine emulation. See the traits that make HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and emulate those very traits. That's the only place in which you'll find a sense of contentment, fulfillment, wholeness, and true happiness in life. Joy could come from a lot of different places. Pleasure could come from a lot of different places. But if you're looking for contentment, fulfillment, purpose, that only comes from a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, amazingly enough, in these psukim, which talk about the false dreamer, the false prophet, Moshe Rabbeinu is not only talking about an external person who arises within the midst of Klal Yisrael, but Chevra is talking to each of us. Because I think all of us have those moments of Ki yakum bikir becha navio cholim chalom. We all have those moments where that that voice of the false prophet, that voice of the false dreamer comes up inside of me, because more than anything, I want to be happy. And more than anything, I want to feel fulfilled. And more than anything, I need to address that nagging voice, that nagging existential voice that gnaws away at me every day. What am I doing in this world? What is my purpose? What is my tachlis? And it is so tempting to listen to the inner voice of the false prophet or the false dreamer, because they're going to give you quick fixes. If you only had more money, you'd feel more fulfilled. If you only had more stuff, you'd feel more fulfilled. Halavai, we should all have more money. And we should all be zochet to more stuff. And we should all enjoy the material world to the fullest, as long as you do it responsibly. But as long as we know that that's not going to make us happy, and it's not going to make us fulfilled. That's what the false voice, that's what the false prophet voice, the false dreamer voice, Bikir B'cha, inside of me tries to say. And Moshe Rabbeinu tells us, have the courage to squash that voice. Say, voice, no. Those things will give me joy. And those things will even give me episodic happiness. And there's no question that materialism could absolutely make life much easier and much more enjoyable. I could have a lot of fun with it and a lot of joy with it. But it's not going to give me purpose. It's not going to give me contentment. It's not going to go ahead and make me feel like a whole person. There's only one way to feel complete. There's only one way to feel purposeful. There's only one way to feel whole in this world. Make the choice to follow HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Make the choice to stop listening to the voice of the inner false prophet and start listening to the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oso ta'avodu, make the choice to do the hard work to become a good Jew. It is hard work, but it's worth it. Ubo tidvakun, and make the leap to finally cling to the Ribono Shel Olam. If we could do these things, then Moshe Rabbeinu says, you'll squash the voice of the inner false prophet, and I'll find true happiness in life. And as we enter into this Shabbos Parshas Reeh, Shabbos Mevarchim Chodesh Elul, this month of Elul, which begins Motzei Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, 2 days Rosh Chodesh and Yirtzeh Hashem. As we begin this last month of this year, and again, it's the last month of 5785, but it's also kind of the runway. It's the launch pad for 5786. It's an opportunity to kind of get the things done that we haven't done this year. There's still time. There's a whole month to finish up the work we pledged to do in this year, but it's also an opportunity to put ourselves on the right footing for the year to come. We're all looking for happiness. We're all looking for fulfillment. We're all looking for contentment. But we have to decide if we want to listen to the inner voice of the false prophet, or we want to listen to the inner voice of the Ribono Shel Olam. Moshe Rabbeinu urges us, listen wisely. Because if we have the courage to follow HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if we have the courage to listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to serve Him, to cling to Him, to do the right work, then in Yirtzeh Hashem we will be zochet to find happiness, fulfillment, and contentment. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos, a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh, and a good Chodesh Haba Aleinu L'Tova.